I'm Realtor Deb Tomorrow, and this is At Home in Bloomington, brought to you by Karen Rastel, Ruoff Home Mortgage. We profile the people, places, and resources that make Bloomington, Bloomington, and help you live your best life. At Home in Bloomington. Hello and welcome to At Home in Bloomington. I am your host, Realtor Deb Tomorrow, joined as always by the lovely Miss Karen Rastel. Best damn lender in the state of Indiana. We should have the buttons like the Saturday Night Live.
Oh, the applause.
Yep. Yeah. So I have an interesting introduction today.
Okay.
It will eventually circle back to our guest. You know how I am.
Yes.
We eventually get there, right?
Yes.
So we're going to do a little geography, a little history, a little... What was the year in third grade? Is that when you study Indiana history?
Fourth grade.
Fourth grade. Thank you so much, Miss Teacher.
I will just say, Jack's fourth grade, they didn't teach Indiana history. And get this, fifth grade, which is world history, did not teach it. So he's getting all of that now in seventh grade.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Indiana history was fun. I don't know, I grew up in Indianapolis, so we went to Conner Prairie and
we did too.
Do all that good James Wickham Riley's house. So I think we did that every year.
There's the Wright brothers' house where they were born is in my hometown.
That's right, because they did work in Dayton, which is near Newcastle. Yeah, interesting. I have not been there.
I remember what the fourth grade textbook looks like.
Really?
Yes.
We had a box with some cards. That's what I
wish I was
remember.
a thief back then. I would have taken that book.
No, you should have dug a little deeper.
I should have.
You'd probably be there. Okay, well, have you ever been to Freedom, Indiana?
No.
Do you know where Freedom, Indiana is?
South.
South of
us.
what?
South of us.
Everything's south of something.
It's that way. It is over there.
I say, because I live in Bloomington, so from Bloomington people, this is how I explain it. It's on the other side of Spencer.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And a little bit south, right? Mm-hmm. So you go through Spencer.
Yes.
I'm going to sneeze. Hold on a second. Talk amongst yourself.
So at the T.
Keep going.
You keep
the
going
McDonald's
straight.
T?
Yes.
Keep
go
going.
Straight. Okay, then the next light, am I turning to the right?
No, because the next light's
left?
like Main Street downtown.
No. Like the one that
the
there's
big
a
one.
Wendy's
and the CVS.
Yeah.
You're going to go to the left.
I've never been to the left.
Yeah. To the left.
Well, I've been to the right.
to the right. Yeah, you go left and it's like, I don't know, 5-6 miles maybe? 8?
Yeah.
Something? No. Not that far.
Okay.
That's Freedom, Indiana. Okay, it was named after Joseph Freeland, who was an early settler. And its population is 1,267. I don't know if I believe that, but that's what it says. Which is 34 people per square mile. Which, when you compare that to Bloomington has...
We have 1,267 people in one city block.
Right. 3,471 per square mile. So 10, is that 10 times? No, that's 100 times.
Move to Freedom.
Good at math, right? The post office in Freedom has been in operation since 1834.
That's awesome.
Which I think gives some great perspective. I think sometimes we lose sight of, how far back our history goes. Mm-hmm. And we get little glimpses here and there. You'll see things around, we just celebrated the bicentennial of Bloomington, and the bicentennial of IU is next year? Is it this year? They keep sending me things, but this is just because they want money.
It's next year, but they're starting this year.
Starting early.
Yeah.
So anyways, it's just, to me, it's really interesting that we go back that far. So here's a couple of notable other reasons why Freedom is notable. It's on the White River.
Did not know that.
Yeah, it's on the White River. That's one of the reasons why I think that it became a spot. Back in the day, cities and towns were settled because there was a purpose for them being there. And this was a point on the White River. They were doing transport called flatboat. I learned all about this. It was quite fascinating to me. I love Wikipedia. But flatboat transport down the rivers all the way to the Gulf of Mexico, right? Mm-hmm. So the White River hooks onto the Wabash, which hooks onto the Ohio, which hooks onto the Mississippi, which gets you down to New Orleans, which gets you down to the Gulf of Mexico.
Yes.
So they would do these flatboats. And then when the boats, they were just kind of like square boats, basically. And when they got to the end, they would disassemble them and use them as lumber. And then they would have to hike, like the crews that manned the boats would have to hike all the way back up, which is like really far, right?
Why take those boats back up the river?
They have no motors. 1834, no motors.
Yeah, okay.
So they can only go with the
downstream.
Downstream. Okay. So in the mid 1840s, 1850s, then the steamboats were starting to come into play, and they were able to they would still use those inexpensive flatboats to go down the river, but then the crews would take the steamboats back up the river and do it all over again, and it kind of sped up the whole process, which was still crazy slow to think about. But if you ever look at a map of the White River, it is the windiest darn thing you have ever seen. From where it starts, which is somewhere, I think, near where you grew up, on the eastern side of the state, and it kind of crosses southwest.
I'm having a flashback, and I'm wondering if that was the river that I almost lost my life on. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't want to go back there.
No.
362 miles of river to cross a state that's 150 miles wide or something. Oh, so it's super. Anyways, okay, so there's my interesting tidbit. So Freedom was an important stop on that river route. The other reason that Freedom is well known, not really, is there was an actor named James Pierce that was from Freedom, and back in the 20s. Late 20s, he played Tarzan on screen, and then he went on to play Tarzan, and his wife played Jane in 364 radio programs in the 1930s. There's a sign, though. Mm-hmm. There is a sign in Freedom.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. To give him, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know James Pierce.
Well, you should, because I'm telling you from the Wikipedia pictures, he's a good-looking man. Okay, so that reminds me of another fun fact, and then we're going to get to the show. This is the longest intro ever. Did you know that a former British Prime Minister named Harold Macmillan, his mother was from Spencer, Indiana?
No.
There is just all kinds of famous going on over there in Owen County, which is why I love Owen County.
Well, you love the royals, too.
Well, that's true. My family is from England, so whatever. But anyways, yes, Harold Macmillan, British Prime Minister from 1957 to 1963. His mother was from Spencer.
All right.
Crazy thing. Anyways, okay, but what is the other reason that Freedom is notable? Have you figured it out yet? No, you have no
I'm
clue.
hoping because Michelle,
our guest,
our guest, is there. I don't know.
No. Well, that's a good guess.
I don't know.
What?
What's the thing? Oh, what do they do in the fall? Don't they have
festivals
and stuff down there?
I don't know if Freedom has a festival or not. But there are some festivals. There are some events that go on.
Okay.
At this place. And so we welcome Michelle Pruitt, who is the co-founder of Uplands PEAK Animal Sanctuary.
Oh.
Have you heard of that?
I have heard of that.
Okay.
But I didn't know it was in Freedom.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know why I'm laughing. I didn't know it was in Freedom.
So Michelle, along with her husband, founded Uplands PEAK.
Okay.
They were actually originally in a different location in Indiana. We're going to talk all about that. But can you, in a nutshell, tell us what Uplands PEAK Sanctuary is about?
Yep. So in a nutshell, Uplands PEAK Sanctuary is about rescuing and providing lifelong sanctuary to animals that have escaped the food system. So pigs, goats, cows, chickens, turkeys, that's who we provide lifelong sanctuary to. And we do education on a vegan lifestyle.
And we're going to talk about that, especially, I think, hopefully in the second segment of the show. So how did Uplands start? One of the things I really want to get into in this show is your compassion and your passion and how you kind of made that dream a reality. Because I think a lot of us want to do that and we don't know how. And you think you guys have worked really hard at bringing your dream to fruition. So how did you start?
Yeah, basically how we started, there really wasn't a plan. So I read a book by the founder of Farm Sanctuary, which is the oldest sanctuary, the first one. They've been around 30-something years. So with that, I immediately went vegan upon reading that book. That was in May of 2011. Mm-hmm. We bought our property to start a sanctuary in February 2012. So kind of how that was, I guess, in process is something that Mark and I have worked on for many years before even thinking about a sanctuary was to become debt-free.
Okay.
So we worked very hard on just paying off everything, having an emergency fund, which really allowed us to kind of do something crazy. Mm-hmm. So when we bought our property, we rented that out for about a year so that we could begin just the process of being incorporated and formulating a board of directors and that type of thing. So we really kind of got the foundation pieces going before we actually moved to the sanctuary in 2013.
And where was the first sanctuary?
The first sanctuary was in Salem, Indiana.
Which is where I have an insurance agent that I work with sometimes who's in Salem, but I don't know where that is.
Bedford. It's like
south of here.
It's south of here. No, it is like on your way to
50.
Right. Well, it's like I see this
150.
150. Okay.
Thank you.
And it's kind of near like New Albany and Paoli.
Okay.
It's kind of between those two-ish.
Okay.
I'm terrible with geography.
Oh, gotcha.
But it's that area.
Yeah.
So it was like 45 minutes from Louisville.
Okay.
So we kind of picked a location, that was affordable.
Yeah.
Because we paid cash for it. And wanted to be near Indianapolis, Bloomington, and Louisville. So we kind of wanted to be central to those to kind of gain support. So that was kind of the purpose. So we took in our first residents, October 2013, Andy and Annie, 2 piglets. And then, we've grown since.
And were you working other jobs while you were doing that?
I wasn't. My husband was.
Okay.
He was a director at a large hospital in southern Indiana. So the first 6 months, he was gone 12 hours a day, and I was basically doing kind of the daily task in the country for the first time in my life.
You're not a country girl?
I'm from Louisville. I was born in
Okay.
Louisville. Both of us are city people and have learned a lot.
Yeah, that was one of my questions that hopefully we'll get to a little bit later was how do you learn to take care of all these animals? So you started that in 2013 and then when did you move up here?
We moved to Freedom, 2019, last year, April in 2018.
Okay, it's been about a year and a half.
So about a year and a half. So still really kind of getting settled.
Yeah.
It's much larger property.
Yeah.
Salem was 20 acres. This is 105.
Wow.
With 2 houses.
Okay.
So it's a big jump.
Yeah.
And
what made you take that jump? Because that's a huge leap of faith.
Yeah, it really is. It was a little scary. I think for us, there was a couple things. We really outgrew our property in Salem. And also, doing something for the first time, you just learn a lot. And our property really where the animals were living wasn't going to be able to recoup. Pigs are very hard on land.
So you need to be able to move them around.
Yes. So we wanted to kind of be able to rotate their living spaces. And we just really couldn't take any more animals in. And the other thing was we just felt if we were closer to Bloomington, because that's where a lot of our support came from, donor and volunteer wise, that we would be more successful.
Yeah.
We didn't necessarily want a property as large as we got. But it's perfect. Good. And it's in Freedom.
Yeah.
So if you're doing animal rescue, it's kind of the perfect name.
Right. I know. That's why I wanted to talk about Freedom a little bit, just because I thought, it's awesome.
It is. And this will probably be in your, later down the road, but where do the animals, where do they come by? Like, how, like you had mentioned earlier, like they escaped the food system. So it reminds me of like, what is it? Babe, whatever that show was, where, you know what I mean? Where that one, like someone's not going to be, I don't know, slaughtered is that the right word?
That is the right
word. So then they reach out to you? Is that how you guys get your animals or?
Well, there's a lot of different ways. One of the ways that we have basically taken in several pigs is they do escape trucks. We also have a turkey that escaped a truck. So either on their way to slaughter or being transferred to another location because animals are born in one location and then sent to another location to be fattened up for slaughter. They'll escape those trucks. So
like
that's
on the
one
highway.
Way. Yeah. And then someone will pick them up, and animal control sometimes picks them up and reaches out to us. And sometimes animals are surrendered. Like we have a cow vegan that's why I kind of put my sleeve up. This is vegan.
That's a tattoo. She's showing a tattoo. You should probably take a picture of that and put it on there.
But he had broken one of his legs as a calf. It was not treated for several months. And because he basically wouldn't be sold for very much money on market, they did surrender him. That doesn't happen that often. And then some other cases, we have had some animals that were seized by animal control. But for a farm animal to actually be removed from a property, it has to be pretty horrific conditions because they have very little rights.
So tell us specifically the story of Lucy and Tulip, because that was one story I really loved.
Yeah, so Lucy and Tulip, I like to talk about their story because I think one of the things is a lot of us don't know anything about pigs, and we have no idea how emotionally deep they are and how sensitive they are. So Lucy is one of those pigs that did escape a truck, and a family found her running down the highway. And she came to Uplands PEAK in July 2014. She was a piglet, about 40 pounds, and just did not ever connect or integrate with the other pigs. So we kind of went through this process. We kept trying. She would run the fence line crying like a toddler, and we tried to be the strong parents. But we did.
Yeah.
So she was close to us, but just didn't have another pig friend, which is extremely important for any species to have a friend just like them that talks the same language. So Tulip, another pig who was basically rescued from a factory farm. She was going to be killed because she was considered a runt. If you saw her today, you would not think that. And she lived with the family for a while, and she lived indoors and just was really attached to them. And obviously she couldn't live indoors when she was, 400, 500 pounds.
Yeah.
That really depressed her. So she was outdoors and had a goat friend, had a pony friend. They were rehomed because the family was struggling. And she was visibly depressed. And they reached out to us because they did want to give her a better life. And she came to Uplands PEAK in December and, had been living on dog food and spaghetti. Not a good diet for a pig. Pigs are carboholics, just like me. So, we kind of worked on her diet, and we do a period of quarantine where animals have to be separated to make sure it's safe. And basically the first day, and we have a video of that on our YouTube channel, the first day that they met, it was like instant love connection. And
I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, there's a video of Tulip running after Lucy and just wagging her tail, or it's more like kind of circular motion. And Lucy was scared because she had just never connected with another pig. And then basically by that night, they were snuggled up spooning because that's what pigs do.
Yeah.
And, we just saw a giant change in Tulip. Like her eyes were just kind of half shut when she came. She was pretty weak because she had gotten no exercise where she lived. She was in a very small place. So we just really saw a major transformation in her. And then Lucy just, had a friend. So we have a cute video of their friendship on our YouTube channel of they bicker, like all best friends. They fight over food. But mostly they don't want to be separated.
Yeah. Are they about the same age? I remember you said...
Tulip is just about like 6-ish.
Okay.
8 months, a little bit older than Lucy, but pretty close in age.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So the point is that, these animals do have feelings that run deep, and I think that's important to respect. How can the public, can they visit your location?
Yes, we are open for visiting to the public from April to October. Okay. And then we kind of close down over the winter just because winter is...
Who wants to walk around the... As we're all like October freezing, like it's 50 degrees and we're like, oh my gosh, it's so cold. Yeah. It's going to get colder. And do you have certain days that you're open? Is that something obviously they can check out on your website?
Yeah, it'll be on our website. It kind of varies. We've played around with it. As we kind of get more settled, we want to open up more. Like right now, it's just one day a month.
Okay.
But as we move forward, we want to open up 2 to 3 days a month and just give people more of an opportunity.
Great. And your website is Uplands PEAK
Sanctuary.org.
So check that out. When we come back from break, I want to talk a little bit about any volunteer opportunities, but I also want to talk about veganism, because I think that's maybe a little misunderstood, and I think there are certainly people that kind of go, what's the difference between that and vegetarianism, and it is different. So I want to clear that up too. So we will be back. Stick around. You are at home in Bloomington.
Hi, this is Karen Rastel with Ruoff Home Mortgage. Did you know one of the most underutilized loan programs is a Veterans Administration loan? Whether you're active duty or retired, you may be eligible for a VA loan with no mortgage insurance and no down payment. It's an honor to assist veterans who have served our country. To see if you qualify for this incredible option, contact me today at 812-606-7653. Ruoff Home Mortgage is an Indiana corporation licensed by the Indiana Department of Financial Institutions. This is not an offer for extension of credit or a commitment to lend. All loans must satisfy company underwriting guidelines, equal housing lender, NMLS number 141868.
This is your Real Estate Realist, practical advice on buying and selling real estate based on my experience closing over 800 home sales. We are digging way back in the archives today. Today's Real List comes from one of my favorite series of episodes of Real Estate Today, Debunking Mortgage Myths. While getting a mortgage isn't hard, it can be confusing. The rules change often, and most consumers don't get mortgages very often. Like the game telephone, information can be passed down between consumers and get misunderstood and twisted. So let's clear up one misconception I hear all the time, and that is that people say it's really important that I get my loan from a place that won't sell it. It's true that the majority of lenders sell mortgages off, and you end up making your payments to some relatively faceless national entity. Here are some things, though, that you should know about that process. Many lenders have a finite amount of money to give out as loans, and if they kept all the loans that they made, they'd be out of money to loan probably by April of each year and not be able to make any more loans. This does not make them a bad lender or a financially unstable lender. It's just their business model. They focus on originating the mortgages. That's their expertise, and they can make the process really smooth because that's what they do all the time. Originate mortgages and help people buy homes. Which leads me to my next point. The entities that buy the mortgages typically don't originate loans, they service loans, and they are good at doing that. They have processes, services, online resources, etc. that make that monthly task easy as pie. I hear lots of complaints all the time about bad experiences with contractors, mechanics, doctors, restaurants, you name it. I cannot think of an instance where I've ever heard of a bad experience with a mortgage servicer. Some institutions may offer you the opportunity to keep your loan servicing in-house. They know that's a big deal to some people, but just be careful because they may charge you a higher interest rate to do that. They have to make some money somehow, and if they can't sell the loan off and make money that way, they'll charge a higher interest rate. Remember that whoever is servicing your mortgage, they cannot change the terms of your loan at all, so you are completely protected there. To learn more about mortgage myths and arming yourself to be a smart mortgage consumer, listen to my Real Estate Today podcast, shows number 3 and 4. You can find that on iTunes, YouTube, and my website, athomeinbloomington.com.
My name is Joe Reinhardt, and Deb Tomorrow is my realtor. Deb helped us to sell a property that we had previously listed, for which we were unable to even generate an offer. Deb's responsiveness, professionalism, and her aggressive marketing strategy led to multiple full-price offers for our listing. And that's why I think Deb should be your realtor too. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back to At Home in Bloomington. Before we get back to our guest, Michelle Pruitt with Uplands PEAK Sanctuary, I wanted to throw back to episode 2, way back, because I think this is episode, I'm not even sure now, 40-something. Episode 2 that we did with Hopscotch Coffee. Remember, they have 2 locations for Hopscotch Coffee and a huge passion for coffee. But what I wanted to highlight was a member of the Hopscotch Coffee Empire, which we didn't talk a whole lot about, but a little bit, which was Rainbow Bakery, which is down at 4th and Rogers in downtown Bloomington. Because when you go there and you ask what's vegan, you know what they say?
Everything.
So we're going to talk about, I'm going to ask some questions about the vegan lifestyle because that's part of the mission of Uplands Peak. But if you want to give it a try, just go get a cupcake.
Yeah.
From Rainbow Bakery. Can't be any easier than that, right?
We should go do that. I'm starting. Yeah, we should do that right after this.
We shouldn't do this before lunch, right?
Right.
All right. So let's talk about veganism a little bit and how that is part of your mission, because it's in your mission statement.
Yeah. So a big part of our mission, obviously, you kind of talked about, how many animals do you have? How big is your space? So we know that we're not going to be able to rescue all the animals that need rescued. There's like 59 billion animals being raised for food. We can never provide, if they were all released today, we couldn't provide a home for them. So the bigger part of our mission is trying to help people to stop eating animals. That's how we're going to save the most lives. So in that, when you come for an educational tour, we give people the opportunity to connect with the pig and to see that they're really no different than a dog. They'll roll over for a belly rub. They come up and ask for affection. So part of our tours is to get people or give people the opportunity to connect with these animals as the individual that they are, but also we include information about what happens to animals to end up on people's plates every day. So how they're treated in the industry. And through that, our hope is that people will make changes. And most of our events that we've done in the past, or all of our events, we do provide, vegan food. So any fundraiser that we have and things like that. And we have a lot of resources, like in our kind of gift shop area, we have resources and starter kits to kind of help people make that transition. And I think, like we were talking on the break, it's not really pushing people and like, you have to do this, but giving people the information, because I think most of us in our hearts are against animal cruelty.
Yeah, we're compassionate people,
yes.
I think.
Yeah. So when we kind of really start to realize what's happening to animals, most of us do not want to participate. It's just getting that information because we've been marketed to in a much different way so that we will buy products.
And I think that people just have a hard time knowing how to get started.
Yes.
I follow a lot of different, diet kind of Facebook pages and websites, and sometimes people just ask questions that I think, well, isn't that kind of obvious? But we don't have that information. We just weren't, you were raised eating what your family was eating, and you don't understand how to have a balanced. I think a lot of people don't know the difference between a vegetarian and a vegan. Maybe in Bloomington they do. Maybe not.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, I know we talked a little bit off break, but where we were talking about how it's more of an educational piece. And I think there's people that would want to make those changes, but they don't want to be told. Is that right? Like, I don't know. I'm not articulating it right, but they're more apt to make a change in how they view animals or how they want to change their diet if they're able to get that information themselves and take their own time with it versus, I would kind of think if my dad was still around, I would think he would be like hard ass, like would be like, you're not going to tell me like we can't have bacon because that was his big thing, So I just kind of think about that generation and maybe having Uplands Peak as a resource so that you can, like the story you shared earlier about the pigs having feelings and you really get to see them in their natural or habitat or their home. And it will change your opinion.
But certainly letting people come to their own conclusions rather than forcing a conclusion on them will give you longer term success, I think. I know that one of your board members is a friend of mine, Allison Hess, and she does some things with coaching people in a vegan lifestyle. So if anyone's interested in that resource, we can definitely point you in the right direction on that as well. So I love that you've got lots of different options on that. Let's talk a little bit about how many animals you have at the sanctuary, how many animals you can have.
Right now we have 12 formerly farmed pigs. So they're, large. A lot of people are familiar with potbellies, which is more considered companion animals. They're a lot smaller. We have 6 goats, 14 roosters now, 5 cows, and 2 turkeys. And we get that question all the time of how many animals can we take, and we also have to educate people about that as far as, land doesn't necessarily equal capacity, because when you are at a sanctuary, you are getting individual care. So, we have a goat, William, who just came from a troubling background, who for a while had to have his own stall at night. He couldn't be with the other goats. He had a little bit of aggression and food aggression. So making those kind of, being flexible in those kinds of ways and giving individual care, it really kind of depends. There's not a clear-cut answer. And the other part is just being able to actually provide that individual care to the ability that we want to is a factor.
So it sounds like part of what you're saying in there is that people, the number of people that you have that are able to help you. Yeah. So how many employees do you have, or who's running the joint?
Well, basically, that's, the part that we're kind of trying to get past and grow. But right now, it's just Mark and I doing daily operations. We are looking for an animal caregiver, and our hopes is to hire another staff member after that next year, which will make a huge difference. And then, just having consistent volunteers that are trained on daily operations.
And so what kind of volunteer opportunities are available?
Well, one of the most important volunteer opportunities at Uplands PEAK is poop patrol. So I think people don't realize when you take care of animals, there's a lot of poop.
Yes. No, I had this conversation with Eurus last night because we have 3 dogs. And he goes, have you ever in your life looked at more poop than, And I'm like, all we do is talk about who's pooped, who needs to poop. Was the poop okay? Picking up the poop. What are you doing with the poop? So I can't even imagine.
A big part of sanctuary life. Because we want everyone deserves a clean, dry bed. So, that's a big part of our daily operation. But yeah, as far as volunteering, we have daily tasks such as scooping poop, filling waters, and then because our property is so large, there's those opportunities when the weather is decent to, trim back branches and do weeding and that kind of thing. And then we have a monthly work day and potluck. So that's also another way to become familiar with vegan food, because we have about 10 or 12 participants. Everyone brings in a vegan dish. So you'll leave stuffed and get to try a lot of different food. But on those days we do projects. So like we might paint a chicken coop. We might put up hay. We might completely clean out beds, that type of thing.
And so if people are interested in those volunteer opportunities, the best way is to...
Yeah, we actually have a really cool sign up now that's kind of broken down in shifts and days that you can get to from our website. But you can specifically sign up for a day and a time that way. And then our volunteer coordinator, who's also a volunteer, will get in touch and just make sure you're all set to go.
How many people kind of go through your volunteer ranks?
I mean, right now we have we probably have about 7 or 8 people that come weekly, like consistently. And then we do have people that come more like to the potluck day and kind of do that once a month thing. But I would say, we have between 20 and 30 people that volunteer kind of consistently through the year.
What does a typical day look like for you and Mark? Seems like it's just a lot of work.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Basically, the good thing is pigs don't necessarily get up early. So pigs sleep almost as much as cats.
Okay.
So we usually get our day started between 7:30 and 8 because we do have 4 cats and 2 dogs of our own to care for. Yeah. And then we feed everyone. We give medications. We do waters. So most of that is done by like, say, 11-ish. Mm-hmm. And then we might do the admin side. Yeah. Because I think that's the other part people don't realize. Yep. It's a small business. Mm-hmm. So we have all this other stuff to do to keep up with our donors and to, abide by laws and that type of thing. And then it usually between 2 and 3 kind of starts all over. Like we might wrap a chicken's foot that has an infection. We might trim hooves because that's something we do on a regular basis. And then feeding starts again around 4 or 4:30. Mm-hmm. And then we kind of wrap up like maybe around 6-ish. And then now that the time is changing again, we lock in the chickens about 7:30, tuck in the pigs, give them their night medications, and then kind of call it a day, hopefully.
But probably go back and do more admin work, right? In all honesty.
Yeah.
I think that's such an important thing to bring up. I was listening to a part of a podcast that you were on, and I'm not going to remember the name of it, but I did listen to it with a lady. And on a Unity, something or other.
Yeah.
You know which one I'm talking about, right? And one of the things you're talking about is, this idea of starting a rescue and that there are people who start rescues and then maybe have to fold, and those animals need a place to go. And, I think people start it with the heart.
Yes.
But you got to run it with the head.
Yes.
And I think that sometimes trips people up. And you got to have that skill set too.
Yes.
So it sounds like you've got a good combination to have succeeded and been, healthy for this long. Where do you see Uplands PEAK going? Where do you want it to go?
Yeah, I think one of the things that, we're working on right now is for Mark and I to be able to pull back a little bit out of the daily operation, because I think that's a sign of a healthy organization, that it's actually ran by the board of directors and you have a staff. So for us, I would like to see us have about 70-ish animals. And our programs really be successful, especially our visiting program. So since we are kind of new to the area, it's still part of getting that word out. But like I said, more people that actually visit the sanctuary and connect with the animals is going to give us an opportunity to meet our mission. So those are really the big things, is to get as many people to the sanctuary as we can. And for Mark and I to kind of step back and to do more speaking opportunities and get out in the community and tell people about Uplands PEAK and the animals.
Message,
just because we want to reach as many people as we can.
Right.
So,
over break, we were talking about the difference between a sanctuary and what people might think a sanctuary is, for example, a petting zoo or something. Can you rehash a little bit of that since we weren't recording, which we should always record over breaks, but we don't.
Well, so I don't know. Maybe people don't want to be recorded.
That's probably not.
I think, I want to just kind of touch on how you had already kind of brought up another conversation of like other sanctuaries folding. So I think those are kind of the instances. So there's kind of this fine line between a sanctuary, a petting zoo, that can also become a hoarding case. And those places usually do fold. Like you said, it all kind of starts with a good intention that gets out of control. But, a big difference with the sanctuary, and it still is a fine line, just like us doing our educational tours. People come there and are super excited and, really want to make sure that they get to interact with every animal. And like, I really want to pet a cow. Well, some of our cows are not interested. They're shy. They're, a little apprehensive, and they're also living their own life.
Some cows don't care about you.
No, not at all. And that's okay. Yeah. That's,
just like people,
what we want.
Some people don't care about you. That's okay.
And that's kind of what we say, like at the beginning of a tour, you're not probably, hopefully, going to walk up and hug a stranger.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah.
But we think that we can do that to animals, you know, and you see it with dogs too. So a petting zoo typically is still getting something from the animal. The animal has a job.
Yeah.
So it's to entertain people. You have the opportunity to feed them so that the animals will interact with you. And at a lot of petting zoo places, once the animals have kind of done their time or it's the end of the season, the animals are slaughtered. So at a sanctuary, it's about them. Mm-hmm. So we like to tell people, you are a guest in their home. Be respectful. Not all of our residents are going to want to interact, but there's quite a few that do. Benny the goat is going to rub up against you and want all of the attention. He is not going to want you to pay attention to other goats. And we don't feed the animals. They're on a strict diet. We try to, because farmed animals are made to get very large now, we, keep everyone on a very strict diet to keep their weight down. Most of our pigs are going to want a belly rub, but again, Mark and I kind of guide those tours so that we can say, hey, this person, that's how I refer to animals because they're individuals, this person seems like they're kind of over the belly rub. So we're going to move on. Yeah. Or, we like to tell people, if you kind of go at them with hands to the head, animals are going to back away because they think you're going to try to grab them. So it is a fine balance, but at a sanctuary, we see and try to teach other people that animals are individuals with their own rights and their own personalities, and we want to honor that.
Yeah, I liked what you had said over break, that the petting zoos are about you, the human. Yes. Whereas sanctuaries, which you had said, are about the animals. Yes. And that's a huge difference. Yep. And it's, I think, something that, should give you pause to think about. Yeah. I know we talked about volunteering and some of the volunteer events, work days, that sort of thing, but you also have other kinds of events going on out there at Uplands Peak on a regular basis annually. What are some of those events?
Yeah, so we'll typically do a summertime event that's free and just we really want to welcome, the community to kind of come and see what we're about. We usually have some type of food. So, one year that was a grand opening. Last year it was Pip and Potter's first birthday, who are 2 piglets that were rescued from a factory farm. So that summer event kind of changes every year, but it is free and it's family, geared. And then every year we have a Peaksgiving event, which is just our compassionate gratitude celebration, that happens in November, the first Saturday of November every year. And it's just really a big celebration of our work and our residents. And we have like a giant vegan spread of typical kind of fall foods. And it is a fundraiser. So that happens every year and it's a lot of fun.
And the other thing I wanted to close on, or just make sure that we note, is that you do have a cabin that can also be rented, which is kind of fun if you've got a family coming, or if you want to just take a little quiet weekend away.
On the property.
Yeah. You don't snuggle with the pigs in bed or anything, unless they want to, I guess. If they want to, then that's fine.
Maybe Benny the goat's
right? Benny the goat will be like, and that is a rustic.
Yes. So that is also available probably April to October, just because we have a space heater, we have air conditioning, so it is rustic, eco-friendly. So that's also practices we try to put in place, but it has a compostable toilet and just like gravity water. But it does have, mild heat and mild air condition. And basically 2 twin beds. And then you're free to kind of walk the property or volunteer if you spend the night. And all of our birds kind of free roam, so you're most definitely going to interact with the birds if you stay. And, it's just really sweet because the other thing about a sanctuary is they are in the country, so there's also just a lot of wildlife. So you hear the frogs and the wild birds.
Stars.
The stars are amazing.
Yeah, amazing out there. Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for all you do. And, I've tried to do my little bit to support, and since you guys have moved here, and so I'm glad to have this show and have this conversation and learn a little bit more. And I want to encourage people to go to your website, uplandspeaksanctuary.org, to learn more and potentially get involved.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful. All right. And we'll be back with another episode. You are at home in Bloomington.
Got a show idea? I'd love to hear it. And be sure to contact me for all your real estate needs and questions too. You can email me at deb@realrealestatetoday.com and follow me on Facebook at Deb Tomorrow Realtor. To contact Karen Rastel for all your mortgage needs, call 812-606-7653 or log on to ruoff.com and go to the Bloomington Center. Thanks to all the Bloomington people who make production of At Home in Bloomington possible. Special thanks to superstar producer Rachel DiGregorio, digital guru Cynthia Hogan at Monster Digital Marketing for website design and hosting, and video genius Wes Lasher in the production house for engineering the show.